Hey guys, Alexander Williamson here with the secret history living inside of your aquarium. I've been getting requests to talk more about my shrimp. I guess people find a lot of basic info online and it's a lot of the same info. So I just kind of want to go over some things while we kind of look at my setup. I'm kind of reassessing the setup because tomorrow I will be getting more shrimp. And so this is kind of like, what do you do when you have shrimp and you're getting more shrimp and you're trying to turn a profit, but also trying to grow a strain? And just kind of like maybe some basic questions will get answered in the process. So this is great probably for people new to raising Neocaridina shrimp. Right now, I happen to have a great view of my holy godmother of shrimp. She has all red. Let's get this into focus if we can. She has all red appendages. That is as red as you can get. And you can get darker red like Bloody Mary, but for this, she is a Sakura painted fire. She's got a nice hump and she's almost 2 inches long. So she is kind of the queen of the tank right now. She just gave birth, and the color depends somewhat on diet. Like here is the male counterpart to her, and he doesn't have completely red legs, and that's common, but ideally I'd like to get them to where they have completely red legs. Up here, you can see I have a shrimp that I wish wasn't in this tank. I'm gonna have to fish him out, or her out, unfortunately. I don't know why it won't focus on her. Let's try that. Well, in any case, it's having a hard time focusing through the bowed glass, but she is there we go. Okay, so she is a red cherry shrimp. She just molted, so that's part of why you can see all the ribs on her and stuff. And she holds her own and everything, but she has legs that are not red. So that color is something that shrimp, when grading shrimp or entering shrimp breeding contests, people look for that as well as their body structure, and then they look for how similar two shrimp are. So like if you can produce 5 shrimp that you can't tell the difference between them, like females, that's great. So here's another female of my Sakura strain. She's got pink but not like bright red legs. And so she may have the gene for the bright red legs, but her shell is not, her carapace or her exoskeleton is not quite as opaque. You can actually make out her saddle a little bit there. Whereas the one who's crawled under the log here, you can't make out anything on her. I can't tell when those ones, here is one that I just found out. Sorry, I turned it the other way just to get into this crack. She is pregnant. And I can see through, but I unless the light is just right, I can't tell when they're pregnant. So what I'll be doing is scooping them out, and I'll take them out of this tank, because honestly at this stage, the last round of breeding, she would have made the grade, the one with the clear legs. She would have made the grade, because she has the right color and everything and a good stamina and size. But she no longer makes the grade because we have upgraded quite literally in the quality of shrimp. And the way I do this is at night, I take a flashlight. And in the middle of the night, when it's been dark for a long time, you'll notice that the ones with the red legs, like the one in here, this pregnant female, they have shrimp, their baby shrimp and themselves are so red that the red doesn't go away with the light. Whereas here you see some translucency, you see her eggs. That's closer to, Sakura grade or something like that. Maybe getting into a little bit of Sakura fire since the legs are starting to turn red. So maybe some of her offspring will have that, since she did mate with my best quality male. In here I have, I keep this as the breeding chamber, as you can see, but I've got a really good quality 2 females and a male in here. The female of a really nice shrimp who is pregnant and buried. You can't tell she's pregnant and buried except for the fact that I just brought her right up to the light. And they're just feeding on an old filter intake. That's just kind of a nice little I guess, not trick, but thing a lot of people do. Now down here, I've got some tangerine shrimp, and this is the birthing chamber, as I've explained in other videos. Let's zoom out. So this tank is the birthing chamber. It is absolutely crawling with tiny little shrimp right now. So if you can take a look, look carefully, there's shrimp here. I mean, there's 6 shrimp on the camera right now that are blending in because they're so translucent. You can kind of see them on the edge a little bit better and swimming around. But these shrimp have all been born in the last week or two. This female, I'm probably actually, now that I think about it, I'm deciding between this female and this female and which one I want to quarantine. And this one has some stripes, and I think what I'll do is I'll quarantine her up here. And I've gotten rid of this awful Petco breeder thing, and just even any plastic container works better. Now the downfall to these is once they are ready to have the babies, they can swim right through that grate. They're so small. But I keep my coals, I'm not going to kill them, but I keep them for a week or two in here until they're ready to go to the pet shop and get sold. But with these ones, I'm seeing on her, let's see if we can turn this brightness up a little bit. She's got a lot of texture and things that I'm not necessarily digging. I don't think that's going to get me closer to Sakura Fire. And so her babies will most likely end up just staying in this tank, and then when they reach like a 1/4 inch, they'll get put up into this box with the inferior grades of adults, and then and the males. Whereas the females of the highest grade are in this box right now, currently pregnant, and I'm going to take those shrimp and we will then release them once they're large enough back over into that tank for them to gain some size. They seem to gain way more size in a bigger tank than in these little tanks. Also, we've got some blue dreams, and we've got some fish that Tampa Aquaculture sent me, or some shrimp, sorry, that are kind of interesting. These are a little bit of the wild morphs that I wanted. They're definitely digging on the leaves and eating things out of there. There's Daphnia and all sorts of stuff growing in the tank. Now that I've gotten rid of the fish, there's the challah or challah or whatever you want to call it. I've got the Jewish roots, I suppose, so I call it the challah wood, like challah bread. But it's just a dried cactus, and it's great for shrimp. It helps grow beneficial bacteria, and then it also gives them some probiotics for their gut that are good as things grow on it. So you can see here we've also got another female, and as I said, there are no males in this chamber, and so we've got tangerine, inferior grade red cherry shrimp, and then we've got some blue dream shrimp that look almost black because of the substrate here. And they should all be coming over to feed on a couple pellets I put in here of like crab food. And the babies are just all over the tank. I mean, they're in the trees, they're all over the place. In trees, I just mean plants. They're back here on the gravel, some of the older ones and things. The newest ones, which were born last night, appear to be blues, and they're still translucent, but you can see them crawling around. And so that's the young stage, and right now they're just eating phytoplankton and stuff. So it's important to put enough food in the water that it gets dirty, but keep your water conditions changing at least every month to a 20%, if not more. But they like a little bit of stagnation because it encourages little critters like on the glass here. Let's see if we can get it to focus. See those little white things crawling? Those are copepods or Daphnia. And if they're Daphnia, they're very small, but they're definitely copepods of some sort. And they're just living and doing their thing, and they'll get eaten. And if they get out of hand, what I do is I drop in a fish for a while. But they can wreak havoc on the baby shrimp, and so hence why I've got this kind of floating tangled jungle, so they can't chase the baby shrimp too far, and the shrimp can go in places like the log and so forth. So that's kind of how I have my breeding set up right now. And then those blue babies, as soon as I see what they look like, they'll be going into this tank, and one of these floater boxes. You can even use a milk jug or whatever, a small carton, a butter carton or something, like a margarine carton. They'll float in here with water flow is very important, temperature is important, and that they have some matter in there that's algae and stuff like that that they can eat. But this is going to be the Australian and Southeast Asian tank, and I think I'm going to go with all blue shrimp in this tank if I have my way. So yeah, that's kind of the rundown of what's going on here. I've also got my dwarf cichlid tank across the room, the 20 long, and you guys have seen that in other videos, but that tank, I have not decided which shrimp will go in there. Perhaps my red cherry low grades should go in there. I really didn't want to have 2 tanks of red cherry shrimp, or even if they're one really good quality and one lower quality, but I might do that just because they're producing at such a rate that I want to be able to sell them, even if it's for like $1 a piece or whatever. Tampa Aquaculture, they sell theirs for $1 a piece. I'm trying to kind of get to a line, so I'm selecting out of these hundreds of babies. I'll be selecting and then selling the rest for fairly cheap, probably wholesale. Unless anybody lives in the Seattle area and wants some shrimp, I can hook you guys up with a good deal. So also, if you are not yet a member of Patreon, I'm trying not to have many ads on my channel. YouTube has really changed their monetization policy and made it so that you won't be getting money basically until you hit a pretty high threshold of 1,000 subscribers and I think it's 240,000 minutes of content viewed, and we're getting close on the content viewed, so that's awesome. Thank you guys. But I'd rather keep it ad free if we can. If we can exceed the money that YouTube would pay me to make you guys watch ads, I'd rather just have you guys, if you want to each throw in $1, that would mean the world to me, kind of thing. And then we can keep doing things like in this tank we've got the peacock gudgeons, and in the other tank we've got the Nigerian cribs, and we're breeding different endlers, we're breeding different cories, and all of that. We've got a microscope. I think tomorrow, by request, I may do a video on what shrimp eat and look at some of what it is they're eating off that rock, what all these babies are eating. And possibly even try to take a baby shrimp if we can safely and look at that under the microscope and go into some more science and history of the evolution of these creatures, because it's really fascinating, and the evolution of how we've gotten these variants and things. So don't forget to like the video. This is just kind of an update, nothing super heavy scientific in here. An update showing you what's going on so you can know what to expect in the future. If you have any questions or suggestions, that's what I'm here for. That's what this channel is about. I want it to be a community. Please talk to each other, have fun, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your fish, and keep on swimming, guys. Good night.